Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the show. Today I am hanging out with Paige Puglisi. She began her photography journey 15 years ago, focusing on children and family photography. Now, a few years into her career, she found her niche in senior photography, building a market that didn't even exist at the time. Many people thought she was photographing senior citizens. Now, over the past 12 years, Paige has built a recognizable brand and a highly sought after business, working with clients from across New Jersey and beyond. As her teen clients have grown up, she's continued to capture their milestones, becoming a trusted photographer throughout their lives. Paige has also launched a coaching and mentoring business, helping photographers develop their own unique personal brands. Through her guidance, photographers learn to shoot in the style they love, attract their dream clients, and foster long-lasting client relationships. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. So welcome, Paige.
Thank you, Lisa. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. Well, let's dive in. So
Okay.
tell us a little bit about your journey into photography and really what led you into senior photography.
Yeah. I'm probably pretty typical in a lot of women is that when I had kids, I wanted to stay at home.
Yep.
And I'd always wanted to be a photographer, like forever. And it was just kind of my dream. And so my husband said, go do it. Go get yourself the camera and go do it. And I did it. So I started with children's and family because that's who I was surrounded with
Yep.
at that point, and I did that for about 3 years and I really loved it. There were pieces of it that I really loved, and then there are other pieces that were just kind of dragging me down.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even know about senior photography. I hired a coach to just try and figure out what it was that wasn't getting me. There was something there that I knew I wanted to do more, but I didn't know how to go about doing it.
Yeah.
And he said, have you ever thought about doing senior photography? I didn't know I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what it is. So I asked him, what is that? I have a magazine background. I have a fashion background. So he's like, look it up. So I Googled it and I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do. But I wanted to incorporate some of the stuff that I loved about children's photography into the senior part of it. And so I just did it. And that's how I landed in senior photography. Kind of a very happy accident.
I love that. So tell me a little bit more coming from that editorial and that fashion magazine sort of background, how that really translated into senior photography.
Yeah. So what I loved about the children's photography is all the emotion. It's all hugs and kisses and smiles and laughter, and that I absolutely loved. I did have a client or two with teen, and it just kind of, as a mom, it kind of changes a little bit. Yeah, especially when it's in front of the camera. You may still get it when it's not in front of the camera, but in front of the camera, forget it. So there was that piece that I loved. But like you said, with the fashion background and the styling and everything, that is what I love to do. I was subscribing to Vogue for more years than I even want to tell you how.
Right.
Like since I was a kid, and all the magazines. I worked for Condé Nast magazine. I'd always had an interest in styling. I went to school for styling. I went into Fashion Institute Technology. So there was all of that. So I kind of just combined all the two and honestly kind of made it up as I went along.
Yep.
Prior to being a photographer, I was in events planning for Merrill Lynch for a while. And I was planning for 2,000, everywhere from 2,000 down to 10 or 20, and all over the world. It was an amazing job. And part of the reason why I ended up in photography is because I couldn't travel like that anymore. But I had that whole coordinating. So I started planning and executing all of my own photo shoots to get up to build a portfolio. And that's kind of how all that whole mix came to be.
I love that so much. I actually used to be an event coordinator. I was the
Oh,
event coordinator
really?
for university. And I have a background also. I'm a makeup artist and an esthetician.
Uh-huh.
And then when we needed to do IVF to have my son,
Uh-huh.
I decided I couldn't do that stressful job
It's a
of
lot.
event planning, and it
Yeah,
was a lot. Like
it's a lot.
when I left the university, they actually hired 2.5 people to replace me,
Yeah.
and I was like, Yeah, it was stressful.
Yeah, it's a lot. I was commuting back and forth to Japan at one point when I was pregnant with
Oof.
my son.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just, yeah, something's got to give. And
yeah,
then after my son was born, I took really terrible photos. So I picked up that camera and basically haven't put it down since. So
that's
I love
amazing.
that we have such a similar
Yeah,
story. And
yeah,
like, were you a child of the 80s?
yeah.
Okay, YM magazines, teen magazines,
Teen.
17
Mm-hmm.
magazines. Like, this makes so much sense to me because those were like what we were like consuming while
Yeah,
growing up, right?
yeah,
And so seeing that you take that sort of and translate that in sort of into your work, that's really,
yeah.
really kind of neat.
Yeah, I have just been a magazine person my whole
Yeah.
life. Like it's just,
Yeah.
and the funny thing is they're starting to come back,
I know.
which is kind of fun. I love
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
I like it. So you've really built a strong personal brand. So what do you feel is the key to creating a recognizable brand, especially in such a niche market?
I think the single biggest thing, especially if you want to sustain it over time, is to be true to yourself.
Mm,
It's just to truly, I mean, I know the term personal brand scares a lot of people, and especially photographers. I'm not a personal
yeah.
brand. Like, it's not, being a personal brand is not being an influencer. They're
Yeah.
two totally different things. But we are personal brands, and there are tons of photographers out there, and everybody has their own thing. And the only way you're going to be working, like I say, happily ever after is if you're working with your people, your tribe,
Yeah.
your dream
Yeah.
clients. And to do that, you have to be true to yourself because it's not going to be sustainable over the time.
Yeah.
You can try and do what other people are doing, but that is going to exhaust you to no end at
Yeah.
the end of the day. So if you're true to yourself, when I started, I really tapped into my why, my values, my beliefs, how I shoot, who I wanted to work with,
Yeah.
and got very clear on the type of photography I wanted to do. And I mean that within my niche. I don't even mean like niching down. I just mean within my niche. I got very clear on the style of photography that I wanted to shoot, who I wanted to shoot with, and by doing that work when I initially started and being true to myself, I never would have lasted this long. I mean,
Right.
this is my 15th year of business,
Yeah.
12 years as senior, so that's a little
That's a long,
while.
I know. I know. I started in 2010 myself, so
Yeah.
14 years too. It's
Yeah.
like it's a long haul and things
It is a
change,
long haul.
right? And like whys change over time. And
Yep.
yeah, so I
And
love and
again, if because you have a very strong brand, if that would have been really hard to maintain if you were following trends
yeah,
or doing the next latest thing or just not even being true to yourself,
yeah,
as far as tapping into your why and your beliefs and your values and that whole thing. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's like the single biggest thing to do.
So if you had a coaching client who maybe was a little resistant to the personal brand or like how would you sort of tiptoe across that and say, okay, but you are a personal brand and this is where we're going to start to unpack you.
A lot of times I don't even talk about it that way.
Yeah.
I tiptoe around it,
Yeah.
right? But I just had a client like this, and she said, well, I just don't think people are going to purchase the type of shoots that I want to do. So we start with
Mm,
what you want to do. What do you want to
mm,
do? What is your dream? What is that big, huge dream? Or what is the style that you want to shoot? Well, a lot of photographers that's where we'll tap in first. Like,
yeah.
how do you really want to shoot? Because I just actually put a post out on this today. A lot of photographers go to these styled shoots, which are great.
Yep.
If that's, I'm not, if that's what you want to do, that's great. That's not my thing. But to me, you're signing on to somebody else's work, somebody else's voice and style.
Yeah.
So you tell me the way in which you want to shoot. And eventually it all circles down
Yeah.
to them, their personal, which becomes a personal brand.
Yeah.
So I don't even use those words a lot because
Yeah.
it's funny. People will be like, oh no, that's for a product or that's,
Yeah.
they
That's for
imagine like
influencers. Nobody
influencers. Yeah,
cares what I eat for lunch, right? Like,
exactly.
and there's a
And it's
struggle with
not,
that.
yeah, like they don't need to know what you're wearing every day. They don't need to know what you're eating or whatever, but they do need to know some pieces of you that you're willing to put out there that connect to your work and why you're connected to your work that will resonate with them.
Mm, yeah, I love that. Can you give an example?
Yes. My tagline is for free-spirited adventurous girls. And
Mhm.
I personally can speak to that 100%. Like
Yeah.
that's just me to a T. And it's people I can connect to, and that's who I get. I love girls who come, they they're they've got a stylish bent to them, but they're not like classically trendy. They love to be outside. They'll go barefoot at the drop of a hat. They'll do anything just for the heck of it because it
Yeah.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
And so when you start iterating pieces of yourself, I have a whole system that I go about
Hmm.
identifying different pieces of yourself that kind of put you to that you can put out there that you're comfortable with and tells
Yeah.
your story in a different way. But
I
that's
love that.
yeah, that's my tagline, and
That's
that's more or
awesome.
less
I love
me.
that. I love that. It's funny. You got me thinking about mine. I'm like, mine's art made with love. And I'm like, it is, that is me because I
Yeah.
do mainly maternity, newborn. Like that's my love. I love my
Hmm.
babies, right?
And you can tell that by just talking with you,
Right? Ah,
but
I love
just
them.
from that
Yeah.
very sentence that you just said right there, it just oozes emotion. And so when you're talking to photographers that you don't get that, I just want so much to say, let's just get to work.
Let's
Let's
figure
get
out
you
what
like
that is.
just
Yeah.
loving what you do. Yeah.
I love that. So let's talk about the senior market because
Okay.
that was for you a market that did not exist at all before. So
Yeah.
what was the biggest challenge in creating this market from
Oh
scratch?
my God. Where do I even start on that one? Um, well,
It's
first
not
of all,
the elderly,
yeah,
right?
honestly, I still get to that comment every once in a while. Um, well, at that point, I had young kids, so I
Yeah.
had to go out and find older teens to photograph, older kids. Um, it was just everything, Lisa. But
Yeah.
I just really loved it. Like I don't think there was any one single. I think the single biggest thing was just explaining what I did because there was no elevator pitch. You know
Yeah.
how everybody tells you to give you your 60-second elevator pitch? Well, by the time I got to 60 seconds, I was done explaining that it's not senior citizens. So that was probably the biggest hurdle is just explaining to people what it was
Yeah.
and why they should do it. That that was probably the biggest hurdle
I
among
hear
the
you. I remember
fact that
getting
I had to
started with,
find seniors and I had to get the word
yeah.
out. And thankfully, when I started, Instagram was just starting. So, I mean, and you too, probably, right?
Yep.
Instagram started just when we started our
Yep.
businesses,
Yep.
which thank goodness for that because
We
that would
got the
have been,
Wild West,
yeah, yeah, but in
right?
a good way,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember when I first started my newborn photography business, like trying to explain to people newborn photography, and they're like, "Oh, like Ann Getty's," and I'm like, "Yeah, but safe, right?
yeah,
Safer, right?"
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, not with
so,
petals on their head,
right?
right? Yeah, I
Because it's
know.
funny because I was talking to a friend and I had recently gone through my old photo albums, and
Mhm.
I was looking at my bedroom from when I was 17, and it was covered in like posters of like these muscle guys holding babies and like
Oh
Ann
my
Getty's
gosh.
and like children in old-fashioned clothes. I was like, I am living and creating art of my 17-year-old dream.
I love
Like,
that.
isn't that wild?
I love that. I know, but see, that's such a great story,
It's fun.
you
It's like
know?
I'm meant to be where I'm meant to be, I think, right?
That's exactly it. And that's the way I feel. Like
Yeah.
everything I've done up to now, it just all has been like a big snowball,
Yep.
and all of a sudden it's just like, well, of course you're here.
Yeah.
Look at what else happened, you
I
know?
love it. I love it. So I want to talk about photographing teens, especially with social media. And there's like a big change with how they express themselves. Some want to be a little sexy. And how do you sort of navigate that with a client?
Yeah. You know what? It has been such an amazing thing to kind of see. Because of course it's like pre-COVID, post-COVID,
Yeah.
right? And then the whole Instagram
Yeah.
and changing. I've gone through almost like, well, I've definitely gone through two generations. I know
Yeah.
I'm feeling really old, but I mean the generational shifts too. So when I first started, everybody was using Instagram. They
Yeah.
wanted it for the feed. They wanted it for the Insta, and it was just like it was amazing.
Yeah.
But I also found, well, here I'm going to go back to this again, but it also um I have never been the kind of person that has shown super trendy, super
Like cutting
poses that I
edge.
definitely, yeah, like
Yeah.
I've never shown that. That's not me. So I don't have clients, a lot of clients that wanted that. I
Yeah.
have seen that in the industry and I have shied away from it because I'm the mom of a daughter.
Yeah.
One of my kids is a daughter, and that is definitely not, I don't want to do suggestive. I found
Yeah.
that when I first started, there was a little bit of an issue because again, I was first starting and you're
Yeah.
growing and you're getting different people. It was a little bit, and so you have to pull back,
Yeah.
and you have to do it in a way that will connect with them and explain, not so much explain, but just like even subtle posing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's shift this a little bit
Yeah.
here. Let's pull the top down a little
Yeah.
bit, you know? So it, that was different. And then again, there was a lot of posting. Then COVID happened,
Yeah.
right? And then Gen Z came along. After COVID, honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to keep doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
because it changed so
Yeah.
much. And I just wasn't sure I wanted to continue. And it
Yeah.
just changed in a lot of ways. I had, which again was very unusual for me, I had a lot of anxious kids come for a year or
Yes.
two,
Yeah.
super anxious. And it started becoming an energy drag. It
Yeah.
was just a lot of girls with a lot of anxiety, which I totally get, but it was a huge shift from who I'd been working with up
Mm-hmm.
until then. So I dropped my model team. I stopped doing the model team, because that was not really
Working.
giving me what I wanted anymore. And I really was like, okay, let's see what happens. Like maybe it's all going to go away.
Yeah.
And then again, I feel like a broken record. I jumped back in and I really dug deep into my personal branding again and
Yeah.
just got back to roots. And I'm telling you now, I am having so much fun with it.
Yeah.
I am back to my clients who are free-spirited, adventurous girls. And no, I've also found that they're not posting a lot, which is
Yeah.
fine with me. I'm totally fine with that. I've never done it for the posting value.
Mm-hmm.
I'll post if,
Yeah.
obviously, but for them to repost and do that, I've gotten to the point where it's okay
Yeah.
if they don't do it. So I noticed that a lot of girls are looking, not posting, not commenting. There's a lot of lookers,
Yeah.
right? And they're not posting. They're using it on more private channels like a Snapchat or
Like
whatever.
Snap. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will not go on Snapchat. For me, that's kind of sacred space for them. I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
So there's that shift. And then as far as the posing and being a little bit more risque than I want, again, I've gotten back to my core group, and
Yeah.
I don't find that's an issue. I've seen it on other accounts. I don't love it, but it's them, and if that's truly who they are and their moms and them and everybody's okay with it, everybody's on the same page, then that's awesome. But it's not for me. And if I do get somebody like that, I'll do a little bit of it. I won't post it, or again, I'll tweak. Like I'll just make little subtle adjustments that they probably don't even know I'm doing, or hold the camera a different way.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things that you could do with the camera that just subtly will tweak that.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest, like, it's been a big shift over the years. It really has.
I love that. So, do you have any techniques for bringing maybe shyer kids out of their shells?
Yeah, I do. Um, I do. Well, with my particular business, my business model is low volume,
Yep.
higher pricing.
Yep.
I'm very careful with my scheduling. So, but that also enables me to have a lot of touch points, a
Yeah.
lot of touch points. So inquiries are always done in person on Zoom, so we can see each other face to face and
Yeah.
talk it through and make sure we're the right fit for each other.
Love
I
that.
then send them out a questionnaire. It's like a BuzzFeed kind of questionnaire.
Yeah.
But it helps me get to know them better. And then we get on styling call. And again, we talk and we laugh and we fool, we just have fun together and pick out their outfits. So that's another touch point. So by the time they come to me, I've already seen them 3 times.
Yeah.
And we've already established a rapport. So I have a good sense. One of, like, what I say my superpower is I get people feeling really comfortable pretty easily. So by the time they're to me, they're pretty comfortable. I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time. And then we'll just have fun. I mean, it's a super casual atmosphere, and we just get silly. And I always, my assistants are mostly high school girls.
That's awesome.
And a lot of them are ones that I've already shot.
Yeah.
So that's another embedded comfort factor. And they know me. And the reason they're my assistants is because we have fun together. So we'll kid around, and then we'll get the girl laughing. And that's when all the magic starts happening. So there's that. And then also I do have a freebie on my site that lists out like 11 different prompts that and posing that will go with it, that will get like those wow shots that I talk about.
I love that. So do you have like favorite locations that you like to take them to?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Actually, it's so funny because it's gotten to the point when people say, I want the field, or I want the water, I want the beach, those are my favorites. I live at a lake, and there are a lot of fields around me. So I do have one favorite field that gets all dreamy, golden-y, yummy at the end of the day. So I go up there, and it's very private because it's part of a park system. So I'll go up there, I'll go down to the lake, or I shoot a lot down at the Jersey Shore because I'm not too far from there. And then every once in a while, I'll get somebody who wants something more urban. So I'm in commuting distance of New York City. So I'll go and shoot there. But oddly enough, like next week, I have a girl coming out from New York City who doesn't want to be in the city, who wants the field.
Funny.
I know.
That's
it's
wild.
funny.
I love that. Do you find, how do you stay creative and productive? Because I find that there is a fine line for me where I hit boredom. If I'm taking my clients to the same locations.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? Like so how do you keep those creative juices going for yourself?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm very protective of my schedule. Like I don't shoot a ton every week. I don't. So that helps a lot. And then I'll play with different camera techniques. Like I've been playing with motion blur lately in the middle, or I hear what you're saying about locations. I tend to rotate them through the year, which sounds kind of crazy, but in the fall, I love being up in the field.
Yeah.
I was down at the beach at the Jersey Shore a lot this summer shooting. So cycling through them at different times. And there's also certain locations that I'll go to that I know will work for some girls and not others. Yeah. There's certain things that I'll do at the lake. I'll take them in a certain location that I know it's not going to work for everybody. Yeah. So like I'll try and cycle them so it does keep me fresh.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for new spots, but I end up
I
going
know
to the same
we
ones
find our
over and over.
favorites. I know,
I
and it's so
know.
funny because I'll drive around and I'll find like 5 new locations, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go next time.
Yep.
And then I'm looking at the light, and I'm like, well, I know the light is gonna be amazing at this one that I
Same.
love,
I
and
know.
even though I want something new, I also want to know that I can deliver. So
Same.
we'll
I
go to where I
know.
know.
I know. No, I do the same. So how I've tried to do that is seasonally
Yeah,
mixing it up. And then again, trying different camera techniques, like different
yeah,
crops in camera, or
yeah,
like I was playing with motion blur, and the girls that I've been working with lately are all into it. I'm like, do you
yeah,
mind if I just try a few different fun things? Like it may take a few extra
yeah,
goes at like running back and forth or something. Like,
yeah,
no, let's do it, so
yeah.
they're all in.
That's
Yeah.
one thing I do find is most clients are really excited for you to play and to try because they see that excitement that you have for their session.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I think we get a little afraid that we're wasting our clients' time, or, they're not going to like
Yeah.
it. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think I've ever tried something and a client's been like, oh, that was terrible. Like if it doesn't work out, I just don't
No.
show them. Right?
I
I move on to
know.
something else,
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly. You don't have to show it, but it's also, I love that word that you used is play, because that's what we do. And that's what I tell them. And I use that in my messaging a lot is we just go out there and play. Like, this
Yeah.
is fun. I want you to get lost in the joy of the moment, and you will. Like, I promise you, you will. And we're just going to laugh and get silly and play. And so if I'm like, hold on a second, I got to get that again because I didn't, I overexposed or I dragged it way too
Yeah.
long, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, and they're all in again.
Yeah. I love that. Do you play music or anything to set the
Yeah,
mood when you're shooting?
yeah.
Yeah.
Part of my questionnaire is I ask what their favorite artists are. And when we do, I have a professional hair and makeup artist work on them an hour, like the hour before we start, and we play it. And then sometimes I'll play it if I feel that they need to
Yes.
get
Yeah.
out of their head. But yeah,
Yeah.
we play a lot of music.
I love that. It's so
Yeah.
funny. You can see in someone's eyes as soon as they switch and they go right into
Oh
their head and they're
gosh.
thinking about how they look. And you're like, oh, I got to change my game plan. Like, I got to distract you. I'm going to be funny. I'm going to be animated just to like get
It's
you
an
out of your
energy
head.
shift,
Yeah.
right? It's
100%. And you
just,
can feel
you
it.
can
It's just
feel it.
instant.
And then when I feel it, it's like going into sixth gear, right? Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, we are good now. We are
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
I
Now,
love that.
do you show your clients the back of the camera to just show what you're shooting?
Most of the, well, I will always do it in the very beginning. Like I'll do it
Yep.
like 3 or 5 shots in, you
Yeah.
know, and then I'll show them. And sometimes it depends on the client. Sometimes I'll just say, "Mm, that's the last one. You're just going to have to wait and see." And
Yeah.
then others, honestly, I cannot wait for them to see them. I'm like, I gotta show it to you
Yeah.
because I literally am like a kid in a candy shop. I'm like, you're not going to believe this,
Yeah. Yeah.
So it depends on the client. But yeah, I don't go overboard,
Yeah.
maybe 3 at the most.
I love that. I've always been someone who shows my client because I love that confidence boost that I see that
Yeah.
they get when they know that they look amazing
Yep.
and that my work will look like I shoot pretty much true to what is on the back of my camera and
Yeah,
my
me too.
editing. I don't go super over the top, but I do
Yeah.
obviously edit my photos.
Right.
Um, but what they see is pretty much what they get. And
Yeah.
I'm like, see, you look amazing.
I
And
know.
it's just, yeah, I love
And
that. I
then, and
love,
then all of a sudden you hear that, that little gasp, and you're like, do you realize how amazing you look? I'm like,
yeah,
that's all you.
yeah,
That is all you. I
yeah,
mean, we do very little hair and makeup. I'm very careful about, it's super natural. And I'm like, that is all you. So
yeah,
let's just go for it. They're like,
yeah.
okay.
I
And
love it.
they're like, they're ready. Yeah.
I love that. So you have really built a strong foundation of having repeat clients. So can you maybe share um, what you do sort of to create and maintain those strong client relationships?
Yeah. So, well, email. You
Yeah.
have to have an email list. You have to have an email list. And I'll give you a really good example why. When I was a family and children's photographer, I did these little mommy and me sessions, right? And I did it through, they were collabs, with, I can't even remember, school or whatever. And I kept they all were added to my email list. Do you know that last year I had somebody who had been following me since day one from one of those, and her daughter was a senior? And that I've had several like that. I've had girls that I photographed when they were, one was 5, and then I did her first communion, and then I did when she was a freshman or 8th grade, and then she was on my model team and she did senior pictures. Like, so email list. Everybody, you have to have an email list because even if you don't think people are reading them, which they probably aren't every week or whatever, however often you send them out, if they're not unsubscribed, they're not unsubscribed for a reason.
Yeah.
It may just be a tickler for years come by.
Yeah.
So email list. I keep a spreadsheet of birthdays, graduation, colleges that they've gone to, client relationship, a relationship sheet. And I just kind of mark, siblings, just a whole bunch of things, and I'll check in and do that. Those are my 2 biggest ways. I'm really lucky. I have clients that always keep in touch with me. Like the girls, I just love them. I keep in touch with ones from my very, very beginning.
Yeah.
If I every once in a while I'll throw up an image of them from the past, and I'll always get a DM from them. Always. And, I miss this so much. How are you? Or like on my birthday, I get tons of DMs from the girl. Like, it's just really sweet. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky that way.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because what's funny is I actually have a little bit of a fear, I think, about posting my previous work. Like if it's not current, I won't post it.
People aren't, what? My personal opinion is, one, not many people go beyond the 12, the 9 or 12 squares. And if you love it, why not?
Yeah.
There's the odds of them having seen it before are not that great because your audience is always changing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not changing. You still have people following you. They're not following, they're dropping, but you always have new viewers.
Yeah.
And they're not going to remember something that you posted 10 years ago. And if they did, they're like, oh, I remember that shot, And I also have people who come up to me and say, oh my God, I've loved watching you grow so much. Like, I remember that shot that you posted. I love how you're still posting it, So people appreciate it.
Yeah.
You should definitely do it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because mainly it's babies, and I love my babies. And like my littlest babies are like 14 now.
Oh
so
gosh. You got to start being a senior photographer, Lisa.
I know. Massive market.
That's funny.
It's funny because I actually photographed, I'm not a senior photographer, but I photographed my nieces and their prom photos this year.
Aww.
I went up and did that. I've got twin nieces and they just graduated. And it was really, really special.
Yeah.
Just to spend that time with them and really get to know them a little bit better. Like, it was really, really neat.
Yeah. I have had people say, really? With teens? And this age, I think, is so underrated.
It really is.
There's all this bad stuff that goes with it, the hormones and everything like that. But like they're just on the cusp of stepping into a whole other person. It's literally one step in childhood and one step in adulthood. Yeah. And they're the least photographed age, like professionally photographed. Yeah. How many pictures? I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Like getting my kids in front of the camera was hard. Not my daughter, my son.
Yeah.
But there's so much hope and possibility for them, because they're just on the edge of like becoming a different person. I love it.
It's really interesting because I remember I had clients, I love my clients, but back probably when their kids were about under 7, they were like religious about their fall family sessions. And now that we've sort of hit the bulk of them being in the teenage years, it's different. They're not getting them every year.
Yep.
right? It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's
It
interesting.
is. It is. And it's a shame. Well, part of it's because I know that you get pushback. Like,
Yeah.
Mom, do we have to do that? Why are we going to do
Yeah.
that? And then there's all the scheduling. Um, but yeah, start dropping it in their ears when they're young. Like, oh, I can't wait to do a tween shoot with
Yeah.
them. Or I can't wait to do it when they're freshmen in high school. Like, you don't have to do it every year, but
Yeah.
you know, do it at the milestones and kind of
Hmm.
drop it in their ear when you're doing the Christmas picture. Like, oh, let's grab one alone with them or
Yeah.
something, you know. And
I love that.
that's how I grew with my clients also. Because
Yeah.
I started when I started doing the senior stuff. I held on to my favorite family clients, and I
Yeah.
would drop a little bug
Hmm.
in their ear.
Hmm.
Say,
I
I
love
can't
that.
wait until she becomes a tween, or let's schedule something for sweet 16 or something like that.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. So you ready a little bit for our lightning round? It's not really so
Okay.
lightning. It's like semi-lightning.
Okay.
Right?
Semi lightning.
So what's your favorite job you've ever held?
I worked for Club Med Martinique.
Ah,
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That's
It was
cool.
really fun.
Yeah, I bet. Like, least favorite job to date.
um, oh, I worked at a bakery in France, and I was bartending in the Alps, and then the woman who owned the bar sent me over to the bakery sometimes. And in France, every single pastry has this particular name. And these people were relentless. And here's this American girl
Yeah.
trying to figure out which pastry is which. And thank God for the pastry chef, because he just thought it was hysterical. Like, he thought it was hysterical, but clients did not. And
Yeah.
so that was a little bit of a
That's funny.
challenge.
That's funny. What does your morning routine look like?
Oh, I make hot chocolate every morning, healthy hot chocolate. And I have a big chair and a half up in my room, and I go back up there, and it looks out over the lake, and I'll sit there and I'll journal, or I'll do meditation, I'll read. I'll do that for like half hour, 45 minutes, and I work out, and then I start my day.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, it's easy now that my kids are older.
Yeah.
There's probably a
And
whole subset of women who
seriously.
are listening to you right now being like, yeah, I wish.
Oh, that would be so nice. I know I'm thinking, I'm
My
like,
yeah, my routine
I
was
hit
not like
snooze.
that.
Like,
Yeah. My routine was
chug
not
two
even
cups of coffee.
yeah. My routine was get up, make waffles, take the kids to school, like barely get dressed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you name a wellness hack you'd recommend to anyone?
A wellness hack? I
Or
just
just a
I'm
wellness tip or something
Yeah,
that
I
you
just
love?
get outside.
Yeah.
Go for a walk.
Good one.
Just get outside. I'll do that in the middle of the day. If I've hit a wall, I'll just get up and go outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Uh, wow. Is ice cream a meal?
Totally. Ice cream is definitely a meal. That's called Friday night. Like,
Okay. So it'll be either ice cream or anything with lemon, salt, and olive oil. Like really good olive oil.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Best concert you've ever been to?
It was an outside concert at the Garden State Arts Center. I was 9 months pregnant with all of my non-pregnant friends, and we saw Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
I
Yeah.
went to Brian Adams when I was like 8.5 months pregnant.
I,
Just
I
had
don't
a
know what I was thinking. I mean, all of our friends I was the first to have babies out of all of our friends. I'm like out to here, and I'm at a concert, and yeah, it was fun though.
I love that. Love that. Favorite thing to do on a rainy day?
Read.
Mm,
Snuggle up and read. Yeah.
okay. Favorite author?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Um, oh, I really love, he just wrote, Abraham Verghese. He just wrote Covenant of Water.
Oh,
I really like him. He's very good. And then there's an Australian author who wrote the book The Power of One, and
Oh,
his name is,
yes.
oh yeah, it was such a good book. Bryce Courtenay, I think his name was. Um, I can't think of others. I like coming of age stories,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah,
I like that. What makes your soul light up?
laughter,
Mm,
laughter
good.
and sunshine.
Hmm. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
Follow your heart. Follow your heart, follow your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you anything else. Like
Yeah,
just follow your heart and follow your dreams and just go do it. Yeah. If that's what you really want to do, then you just go do it because you can.
yeah,
You
love
you
that.
can.
What advice do you have for someone just starting out in photography?
Um, well, one, be true to yourself. Do
Mm,
do what you shoot the way you really want to shoot. Practice, try. Don't get caught up in the technical aspect of it. I'm not telling you that you can't be proficient, that you shouldn't be proficient. That's not what I'm saying. But don't get so caught up in the equipment and the technical side of it. Like just let your heart speak as far as doing what you want to do and shooting what you want to do. And if you love it, I guarantee you other people will love it too. Like don't get caught up in the technicality of it all.
So, Paige, where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your coaching or photography services?
Okay, so I'm at Paige P Photo on Instagram. I have two accounts. My photography account is at Paige P Photo. It's PAIGE photo. And then my coaching account is at Paige P Photo _ coaching.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, I love to end my interviews just with this last question, and it is, what are you currently curious about or artistically curious about?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. I am currently curious. I love to read. Like I will read
Mm.
anything.
Hmm.
So, uh, like you can give me anything to read and I will find it interesting and I'll go down the rabbit hole and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Artistically, you know what I've been doing a lot of lately? Like going back to my magazine roots, like playing with
Yeah.
fonts and like I've been really having a fun time on Instagram marrying fonts and text with
Yeah.
images, which I've never done before. I mean, not that I've never done before, but I'm leaning into it more and more and making it feel more magazine-ish, you
Yeah.
know, and just doing posts like that, and I'm kind of having fun with that, you know,
I
just
love
making it
that.
feel just
Fun.
different, just playing with it, honestly. And I think the more you allow yourself to do that, the more it resonates, you
Yeah.
know, because I've gotten really good response from it, and I've just
That's
started
good.
doing it, but I'm having fun with it. So I'm kind of leaning into that artistically, I guess, is what I've been doing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Paige, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. This has been fun, Lisa.
Oh, my beautiful friends, I hope you have loved this conversation just as much as I have. I am sending you so much of my light and my love today and every single day. We will see you next time.